Good evening, welcome. I'm John. I'm a bookseller at Literati Bookstore in downtown Ann Arbor, Michigan. We're so pleased to welcome Shelley Wong and Khadijah Queen to our At Home with Literati series for a reading of from their recent collections and a discussion. Just a quick webinar overview for you. The chat is closed, but you can keep the chat window open. I'll be sharing links to purchase collections from tonight's poets throughout the event. The Q&A is available to you, however, so if you have questions, please feel free to submit them using the Q&A. I'll be sure to read a selection of those questions at the conclusion of their conversation this evening. And a live transcription is also available to you as well using the CC icon on your toolbar. And if you're watching us on YouTube, there are always links to purchase books in the description directly below me. And if you click on the little typewriter icon right here on your screen, you can also sign up or subscribe rather to our channel to be kept up to date with all of our At Home with Literati events once they become available on our channel. And as a reminder, you can shop for more books at literatibookstore.com to have shipped to your home anywhere in the United States. And if you live in Southeast Michigan or the Ann Arbor area, of course, our doors are open to the public for in-store shopping. But most of all, we would just like to thank you for your attendance this evening or this afternoon or much later this evening or this morning, depending on where and when in the world you may be joining us. Without further ado, I'll introduce our poets in reverse order of how they will be reading this evening. Shelley Wong is the author of As She Appears, winner of the 2019 Pamet River Prize. Her poems have appeared in American Poetry Review, Best American Poetry, Kenyon Review, and New England Review. She is the recipient of a Pushcart Prize and fellowships from Kundiman and McDowell. She holds an MFA from The Ohio State University and lives in San Francisco. And reading first this evening, Khadijah Queen is the author of 6 books, most recently Anodyne, winner of the William Carlos Williams Award from the Poetry Society of America. Her 5th book is I'm So Fine, A List of Famous Men and What I Had On, praised in O Magazine, The New Yorker, Rain Taxi, and elsewhere as, quote, quietly devastating, and, quote, a portrait of defiance that turns the male gaze inside out. She holds a PhD in English and Literary Arts from the University of Denver and is associate professor teaching creative writing, literature, and poetics at Virginia Tech. Please join me in welcoming Khadijah Queen and Shelley Wong into your living rooms.
John, thank you so much. And Shelley, thank you so much for inviting me to celebrate your book with you. I'm just going to read 3, 4 poems, maybe. We'll see how long that takes, maybe 3. I'm going to start with one I don't read very often. In the Quiet. I ended things and need to migrate soon. I've had a rocky epoch. Not boring and non-hair splitting, so resort to heating leftovers in the oven or in a blue skillet on a hot eye. Watch a wasp behind blinds escape. Laconic ease in the new absence. So beigey, safe, and later, fiddle-headed, souped up in a fast sleep, I furl at the least pain. For fun and distraction, American Horror Story. Violence I can turn off. Antediluvian. Where were you when the truth disappeared, or when the truth battered us, and we pretended fear fell from the ripped pillow of our sky instead of rising up from the one clear place of us? Where were you when strong men told us to die and blasted us into nothing? Were you downtown to witness the smooth mirage stagnate in skyscraper shade and neon glower? Did you hop a bus and clutch a cold center rail, the sweat of your palm making you slip as if at sea? Were you at sea and memory gathered into lyric, your body pretending any era was a safe one? 6 persimmons ripen unconsumed. Mayfly wings flash their iridescence in the dark. Nothing works. By swallowing alarm, you scrapped what you knew near plaza fountains, ultra anonymous. Now, an arrowhead sharpens the blood under our flesh. Low to the ground, a sea of tamarisks. You claim millennia led to the false obelisks, led to what severs the head of connection in the time of least. But we ask that you not kill us. New Jersey Transit Passenger Ode. On the way home from the MoMA, I decide I want those blue patent leather peep toe stilettos and hardback Japanese novel with silver bookmarks scissored dead center. I want vegetarian gumbo. I want snapper and trout blackened on the spit. I want feet that don't swell and veins that don't threaten varicosity. I want that lean man to kiss me on the back of the neck and smile when he whispers so I can feel what he means between breaths. The truth of all performance. I want that heiress ease minus the trickle down. I want to clear the Lincoln Tunnel shit. I want 24-hour service to be unnecessary. I want to sleep at night, and when I do, I want dreams like the one last April. My family all lived in the same place long enough to grow daffodils and safe babies. I want to know who's walking toward them on the street. I want a real salve, a cool, wet cloth and jasmine tea. I want to bow down with my arms breaking earth until it grows more delicious than shaved dimes between my grandmother's teeth. I want the city's lights to stop telling me that bedtime story, the song I can't get enough of, the swagger keeping me huffed. It's the last one. The rule of opulence. Bamboo shoots on my grandmother's side path grow denser every year they're harvested for nuisance. Breezes peel blush and white petals from her magnolia, lacing unruly roots in the spring grass. For 9 decades, 10 now, she has seen every season stretched out of shape, this past Connecticut winter slow to relinquish cold. As a girl, she herded slow turkeys on her Aunt Nettie's farm, 50 acres in a Maryland county that didn't plumb until mid-century, plucking chickens and pheasants from pre-dawn into the late night, scratching dough for neighbors, relatives stopping by for biscuits, and the view from my window changes. It's Mother's Day, and I'd always disbelieved permanence, newness, a habit, change, an addiction. But the difficulty of staying put lies not in the discipline of upkeep, as when my uncle chainsaws hurricane-felled birches blocking the downslope driveway, not in the inconvenience of well water, slowing showers and night flushes, not in yellow jackets, colonizing the basement, nuzzling into a hole so small only a faint buzz announces their invasion when violin solos on vinyl end, but in the opulence of acres surrounding a tough house, twice repaired from fires, a kitchen drawer that hasn't opened properly in 30 years, marked danger. Nothing more permanent than the cracked flagstone path to the door, that uneven earth shifting. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Khadijah. It's such an honor and pleasure to be with you and hear your work, which is so incredible and inspiring. And it's very special to be press meets on Yes, Yes Books with you. So I'm very excited to share poems from my debut collection, As She Appears, which came together over many years and is divided into seasons. And so I'm going to read a lot of spring and summer poems today. For the living in the new world. There are so many ways to explore a forest, over clover clusters, past skunk cabbages, to a field where we listen for a ghost of song. The hypergreen periphery is the opposite of Los Angeles on fire. Any tree can become a ladder. These trees have too many branches, but it is not my place to revise them. I may be happiest improvising the language a body can make on a dance floor. We are just learning how female birds sing in the tropics. Spring insists we can build the world around us again. How has love brought you here? My head is heavy from the crown. So throughout this book, it travels in various landscapes across seasons and across the country. And even though it's divided into seasons, it really covers many different years in those seasons. And this poem travels through various art spaces and a relationship that lasted 11 years. This is called Private Collection. At the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art, the ocean drawn in pencil is no longer on display. I once thought I could wreck that water. My partner liked a painting of a blonde woman reading a newspaper, a sister to a Dutch painting I admired back in New York, where a woman contemplates a water pitcher in cathedral light. We walked gallery to gallery, and no women resembled us. I'm charmed by certain French words, but forget what they mean and never properly pronounce them. Mélange de rigueur au courant. Sometimes couples become echoes of one another. We wore quiet glasses, our hair in low ponytails, like George Washington. She would photograph me when I looked away from her. As I glanced at the curves of the Grand Tetons, the raised head of the Greek caryatid locked in the British Museum, a winter forest floor, somewhere in Oregon when we were 19, and I couldn't meet the camera's gaze, though I knew she was there and that she would hold me from a distance. The summer forecast. Is it too late to go off the shoulder? Linen jumpsuits leapt over me as I cut pastel flowers off Highway 1. Whisper pink, lavender, spiked butter. I wore a long striped dress, a sailor ashore longing to be a natural wonder. I take a page and sew by hand, piercing, piercing. Then rip out and realign, bringing me to think of Penelope unraveling, coiling her colors back like a bad tide after another day untouched. But I am no lady in waiting. I gathered the bouquet myself. Don't sleep on peonies, their intricate unfolding, whirling faces. I felt the cold weight in my hand as I approached softness with shears. Refrain. Farewell, romantic sacrifice. I choose myself. Some can only love once. How true will it be? I love sequins, but get the sequence confused. At our end, I broke from her, and every face grew stranger. Stranger, speak to me like light through a veil. Like a spent match, the darlings turn to find me, and I fade into the glitter. A sequoia has every vow like a closed hand. When I've worn my body down from dancing, I still point to the sky. I will honor my body, my only body, its honor, my will. So another special thing that Khadijah and I share is that we both grew up in Southern California, Part of the reason why I love I'm So Fine is anytime anything happens at a mall, I think is really just brings me back to yeah, the many malls of Southern California, which is how I know basically what cities are is by their malls, like which one had like the Contempo and the Wet Seal, the Nordstrom and the Broadway, the hot dog on a stick. Um, so this poem is very much about my 80s and 90s childhood growing up in Southern California and always looking for the Asian people in the song or in the landscape. So this is called All Beyoncés and Lucy Lou's. Where are you from? The LBC. Can you speak? Hakao Sumai. I'm 4 generations deep in America. Dial up the boba to 75% sweetness, 50% ice. What do your people call juk? Chinese people skip the 4th floor. Don't trust a pho place without a number in its name. Enter June, Lena, Rose, and Waverly. Enter Lucy Liu and my girl Drew. Lucky white ceramic cats collect what's owed. Hello Kitty, little twin stars, my melody. Did you know Keanu Reeves is part Chinese? His Hawaiian name means cool breeze over the mountains. The most exquisite loneliness is Maggie Chung gliding in a cheongsam as she ascends a staircase. In my domestic dress, I calculate my proportions with finesse, like a G6. Tell me the best midnight restaurant in Chinatown. We run with the yellow Power Ranger, eat turkey joke after Thanksgiving. Enter Claudia Kishi licking salt off her fingers. Did you watch Keanu in River Phoenix in my own private Idaho? Is my eyeliner even? I can't tell Mandarin from Cantonese. Drink hot water to flush the fat. How did Michelle Kwan change you? Fields of gold forever, Mulan against the world. Are you wearing black tonight? Shiba Mato is playing at the Bronze. Chinese love cash. Little girls dressed in pink and red. And then from California, I'm gonna travel to New York, where I lived in my 20s with my partner at the time, who worked for the official New York City Pride organization. And so I have a lot of happy memories with that queer community as a young person. Yeah, searching for myself and gaining strength and visibility in my 20s, and also spending time in the summer at Fire Island, which is a queer community off of Long Island, and where I spent a short 2-week residency 4 years ago, and wrote some of these poems. So the first poem is called Pride Month and has an epigram from Anne Sexton. It is June, I am tired of being brave. It is June, and I read about having grace to forgive those who would condemn us. It is June, and a man reads a poem where the father becomes a dying stag, and the son says, there is something I need to tell you. It was June when I was awake past midnight, gathering news about the Pulse nightclub shooting. I fell asleep knowing I would wake to walk against grief in waves. It is June and I am happy that Tegan and Sarah will appear in San Francisco or Oakland. It is June and I have never prayed to any god. It was New York in the 2000s when my ex ran the chaos backstage at the Pride Pier Dance. In strobing summer heat, we slid through a sea of men with shaved chests. The songs hardly had words, and the bass shuddered into our bodies. Fireworks climaxed over the Hudson, and the crowd rocked and roared back. I stood in a tropical sundress in the VIP section, surrounded by so many barely dressed people, double kissing my face, saying, "Happy Pride, and where is your wife?" And I'll close with this poem set on Fire Island called Weather Advisory. It is foggy and the ferry will not travel east. The captain lost without his radar. Sonar. Excuse me, sirs, this is a gay dancing emergency. Is heterosexuality the fog? I am slow with too much time, dressed in 4 shades of gray and a streak of pink. Oh, it's an older crowd. Oh, that's me. We all have the same Madonna Whitney childhood, set to synthesizer beats. Today I tried to pluck a pine cone, but the stem said no. I am sorry, tree. I meant to ask consent. Between the pines and cherry grove, there's one path for tourists, another for cruising. Among the rangers, I feel famous. Are you the writer? Hello, bird. I have no sweetness to offer the bees. Where did Frank O'Hara wander and fall asleep on the beach? The first inhabitant of Fire Island was a shipwrecker. He lured ships to shore and killed the crews. It is not certain whether the island is named for these warning flames or its sunsets. I am a fire sign. Who should I touch with this burning? I loop along the bay, the marina, the beach, emptied of families. In the straight neighborhood, I watch men on break, pause one by one to take in my neon floral shorts. They reveal my kiss of a birthmark, the walk of a messy-haired woman, some faraway flower.
Thank you so much, both of you, for those beautiful readings. I'm happy to invite you both to join each other in conversation, and I will reappear if we get some questions from our audience. But I'll remind those of you watching, if you have questions for Khadijah or Shelley, please feel free to submit them.
Great, thank you.
I had so many silent like screams on when I was on mute.
Oh, thank you.
It's, I really loved hearing those poems, and you said all the Beyonces and Lucy Liu's, and oh man, it's so good to hear your work out loud, and how alive the images are, and to recognize that kind of movement, and also the landscape and the kind of dissonance of belonging as well.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say I appreciate that, and I noticed it and loved it.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny how you just write these poems over the years. You're not sure how it's gonna come together, and yeah, it means a lot to hear that it all worked out. That it comes.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, and who says people from LA don't know anything about nature too? Right?
That's true. That's right.
We're all on the same earth. We just have more concrete.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about your book and like how it came to be, and like how long it took, all those standard questions, and maybe also something that is unexpected that happened in that process?
Yeah. It did slowly evolve, and I see the book as like some people have project books where it's like one particular idea or theme that's carried throughout, and I think I have like 5 different series that are kind of threaded because I couldn't commit to one, or maybe I just time passed and I started a new one, but a few of them were seated in graduate school. So there's the 4 fashion forecasts. So I read today the summer forecast, so there's a winter, spring, and summer and fall. And then there's a Frida Kahlo series of poems where I'm in her persona or I address her. And that was sort of my gateway to talk about a difficult breakup without talking about my own breakup at first, because I was getting a lot of like, what are these breakup poems about? Like, what happened? I was like, I don't want to talk
None of your
about it.
business.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm gonna talk about her breakup so people don't, they don't need to ask.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
That was sort of my gateway. And then I did eventually write the relationship poems that thread through thinking about art. And then, yeah, the All Beyonce's poem, that just came out of just like wanting to write about like, growing up in the 80s and 90s and always like having on my radar, like, where are the Asians in the room? Where's the Asians in the song? Like, what's Keanu up to? Like, my big which I love.
Important question.
Yeah, which I love your poem, and I'm so fine where you met Keanu. Yeah,
He was so nice.
oh.
He was like, to this day, the best celebrity we've ever met. He was the nicest one.
Yeah. I never met him, but I saw him in his band.
Nice.
He was very humble.
Dog Star, right?
Yeah,
Dog
right.
Star?
Yeah. He was super humble. Yeah, such a sweetheart.
Yeah, he's awesome.
But yeah, the poem just kind of like, cross landscapes, talked about art and nature, and I tried to keep it surprising and kind of just have a journey of self-love and curiosity throughout. Like, I didn't want it to be like, oh, the breakup and then the speaker finds someone. It's like, no, the speaker like finds herself and has herself and her girls and her community, to kind of like enact also my own becoming as a writer without not a lot of models too. There's kind of this meta journey too of writing into the spaces and the poems that I wanted to see.
Who are the models you look to now, or any particular books that you return to?
Yeah, there are so many. Let's see. It's funny how like I'm an exennial, so I was born 1980, so I'm like on the cusp, and there are so many poets older than me and younger than me who have inspired me, and it's always super humbling, especially with the younger folks who are so amazing, inspiring me. I have a lot of love for Sally Wenmel. It's an amazing poet, also from California. I really like a lot of poets I love are from California. It's just like vibes. So it's like Morgan Parker and Kathy Shay and John Murillo and Lo Kwame, and who I met at Ohio State, and Allison Davis too, who I also met at Ohio.
Did you say Allison Davis? I don't think I know that.
Oh yeah, Allison Davis, Allison Bettini Davis. She grew up in Youngstown, Ohio, and I think it's in West Virginia now. Yeah, she was 2 years ago. She writes a lot about growing up working class in Youngstown, where her parents had a trucking motel.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Also, shout out to my advisor, Kathy Fagan, who's in the Zoom room.
Hi, Kathy. I saw that Q&A. Hi, Kathy. We were supposed to meet because we were supposed to read at Pitt right when the pandemic was about to start. But she couldn't make it. It was a family thing. And then the pandemic happened. Yeah.
Kathy
but such a fan of her work too.
Yeah, she's dropping the next book from Milkweed. Pre-orders are available. That's coming out in October, September. But yeah, we're reading in Ohio. It's very exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah, so.
Okay, the other question I had was, which fire sign are you?
Oh, I'm a Leo. It's my season.
You're a Leo, okay.
What about you?
I am a Gemini with Leo, Moon, Rising, and Venus.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Mars in Aries,
Okay.
Mercury in Gemini. It's a lot of air and fire.
Oh, air and
Yeah.
fire. Nice. Yeah, I'm a Capricorn moon. So it's a big shift. Leo sun at Capricorn moon. I was like, oh
Right.
man. So I'm also like Leo cusp Virgo. Like that's a pretty big swerve too.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's something.
Yeah.
Wait, Leo Cusper. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's a situation.
Yeah, it's like sometimes unorganized, sometimes it gets a little chaotic. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that whole attention thing is something. That's the thing to manage, I think.
Yeah.
Do we have any Q&A thingies? Oh, we just got love. Not just, we got love. That's what we got.
Special love.
All right.
Nice.
Were there any points during the process of writing your book that you felt stuck, and how did you get out of that? What did you do to kind of move through that?
Yeah. I think that I did have hesitations about making the Frida poems the core of the book. And it was the core of my chapbook, Rare Birds. And so I think just given time and perspective from my relationship, I was able to kind of take a step back and just slowly kind of write into more personal perspectives, and also write poems that were just for me, not for the book. So I think that helped kind of lead me towards a more embodied speaker in the landscape, and also having the Fire Island poems become kind of the heart of the book, of looking backwards and forwards in a particular place that has queer community, but is also still can feel very separate from myself as a queer Asian woman. It's a very white community for queer folks. And so again, I think just like having specific landscapes where I'm dwelling in to kind of shift and pivot perspectives, and like
shift and pivot. I like that. We're gonna make that word up.
Shift. And thinking about the form of the poem and possibility and play in a particular place. Because I think there was a lot of kind of drifting. It's like, okay, I'm gonna write a series in one place and see what comes of that. And that ended up being the center of the book. So I think that's when everything came together.
I think finding that center point or a theme or idea is important. And like, if you can, I use a spreadsheet.
Wow. What is a spreadsheet?
It's a theme tracker, because the poems are kind of just like amalgamated from stuff I wrote 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and then a whole bunch of stuff I wrote right after the 2016 election. And I hadn't even thought about another book, because I was very like, after when I'm So Fine came out, I was just like everywhere. Like, I was just flying. I was on a plane every other week. And so I wasn't thinking about a book per se, but I did have a whole bunch of poems. So when I got asked to put a book together, I started to try to think about what I had, what were these poems saying, how are they going to talk to each other, what needs to go away, what needs to be the common thread. I had it like in sections at first, and that didn't work. So I just tried to think about how I was going to deal with this meaning of things, enduring pain and living through it, and while also observing further harm, and on multiple levels. And so the theme tracker spreadsheet helped me to put the poems in their little categories and see where they overlapped.
Yeah.
So I could find out the information I needed to put them in an order.
Wow. And then from that, did you write poems to add sort of layers or connectors, or did it all just organically fall into place?
I think I added poems that had been written already and revised some of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think the opening poem was the hardest one to revise. That ending just kept getting destabilized.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the one I worked on, I think, the longest. And I finally decided that I was going to let it be a little messy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading a lot of Alice Notley because I was doing my PhD at the time, and we were reading In the Pines. And it's like, well, what would happen if I did this disobedient thing?
Yeah.
And made it messy.
Yeah.
And also made it transparent what my influences were. I was wondering what you thought about ekphrasis, like what about that appeals to you besides perhaps the persona? It seems like there's a really strong sense of observation in the poems, especially that you were reading, and how that observation of a work of art like parallels with observation of the self in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've always loved visual art, even though I'm like a very poor drawer, painter, and I think trying to put words to the experience of looking as an observer, but then also how that reflects back on me and going into another person's imagination. And yeah, just what that does to my language or thought process and where it leads me. So I think it's kind of a wonder and curiosity, and then just kind of following that to where where it goes. Yeah.
I love that. I love that so much.
Yeah.
John's popping on.
Don't have any more questions from the Q&A, but I thought maybe if you will, indulge me, I'll have one more question for both of you. It's kind of the standard bookseller question. So if I'm putting you on the spot, I'm sorry in advance, but maybe to close, just curious to know anything either of you are reading that you might like to recommend, in addition to your own books, which our customers can purchase at links in the chat or links in the description below me on YouTube. Anything that's sort of, if you were in our store, that you'd put in a reader's hand.
I'm reading Disorientation by Elaine, Shay, Chao, which is like an amazing novel. And it's nice to take a break from poetry and move into prose. And similarly, I finally found Arrows of Bittersweet by Anne Carson. So I'm also, that feels like it's going to be an important text. Also, I always think of it because it was mentioned in the first episode of the L Word. I was like, oh, this is it.
That's good.
Yeah. So that's
I went through a whole Anne Carson phase when I was in grad school. I think I read them all. This is before Knox came out, though. That's how old I am. But I think Plain Water was my favorite by Anne Carson. What am I reading? I have been traveling and driving and not reading. I was reading Save the Cat by Blake Snyder. It's a screenwriting book that was helping me with order and flow in the memoir that I'm working on. I have a bunch of stuff on my list, one of which is Kimon Felix's new book, which I think is available for pre-order. Dion Brand's new book of collected poetry, and Ordinary Notes by Christina Sharp. Those are on my list. I'm about to look down here. Maya Marshall has a new book coming out that is on my list. And I'm trying to see if I see anything, but I can't see them because they're too far away. But I think just in general, I love when folks go to a bookstore and look at that recommended shelf and just go through, pick something. I love doing that. So I would invite readers to try that.
That's certainly music to my ears and to our booksellers as well. We love investing time in those little shelf talkers, which you can see behind me. Although
right there.
My chicken scratch is often illegible at a doctor's handwriting, so sometimes I gotta type those out. Thank you for those recommendations. Viewers can find, if you're watching us on YouTube, you'll find links for those orders or pre-orders in the description as well. But I think we've reached the top of the hour. Shelley Wong, congratulations on As She Appears. Thank you so much for allowing us to share this book with the world. And Khadijah Queen, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your poems with us as well this evening. Hope we can have you both in the bookstore in the not too distant future for your next collections. But until then, be well. And to our viewers, thank you so much for joining us at Home with Literati this evening. We look forward to seeing you at the next event. So take care, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much.